Good morning, everybody. It's Merritt here with Master of One Coaching, and I'm so glad to be coming to you live this morning, as I do just about every Friday morning at 10 o'clock Eastern, to talk about what's the topics of the day. For those of you who are tuning in this morning and we're expecting to see Tim Colson, my friend and colleague, who is awesome. We had a last-minute schedule change, which I did post, but if you missed it, that's totally cool. He'll be back. He's going to be rescheduled for August 6th. So you did not miss him. He just had a little bit of a scheduling conflict. And so we just reorganized, and he'll be back on August 6th. So come back in 2 weeks and see him. In the meantime, today, I thought I would take the opportunity to talk a little bit about this idea of uncertainty, right? And we talk a lot about this in various contexts, certainly in the context of COVID and the shutdown, and we talked about the Great Resignation and what that means for us culturally and society-wise, and definitely work-wise as leaders. How do we walk through uncertainty? So I kind of wanted to break that down a little bit today and do some interpersonal work. And I was inspired by this because I'm talking to one of my clients, well, several clients are going through this perspective change right now. My sweet spot with clients is helping people who possess great leadership skills and potential really live into that, become the fully actualized leaders they are meant to be, and then take that leadership energy and put it to something that's really life and world changing. And so those leaders that I work with and those emerging leaders that I work with too are still human. Just because they have the energy within, the call within themselves to be leaders does not mean that they don't experience fear, anxiety. I have a client right now I'm working with who's working on this transition, and one who just went through the transition of leaving his full-time job and into starting something new. And here's what I hear over and over and over again. From clients in my groups or clients in one-on-one, it's just the word terror comes up a lot. I am terrified, and that's not a bad thing in and of itself. Emotions are our guidance system. Just like our physical feelings are our guidance system for our physical body, our emotions are part of our guidance system for our emotional and psychic body, okay? So it's not a bad thing to have fear. In fact, none of the emotions are bad or good, right? If we can release judgment of that, that's kind of another conversation. But I am going to dig deeply into that feeling of terror, of uncertainty today. So the first thing I want to talk about, and by the way, thank you so much for joining me live. I would love to see your comments, your hellos, your hey, how you doings. If you have questions, please go ahead. In fact, somebody actually go ahead and just put, so I know you're out there, go ahead and say, hey, yeah, good morning. I would love to see who's out there in the world. And if you have a comment or a question about anything I say, please feel free to go ahead and put it in, whether you're here live or whether you're catching it in replay. I always come back and check in with the comments afterwards too. But if I could even say just one or two comments out there, that would be amazing, just to check in and make sure that I'm connecting with you all out there. Okay, so this idea of uncertainty. So we're going to talk about neuroscience first. Okay, I'm not a neuroscientist per se. Well, not at all. I'm actually not a neuroscientist at all. What I do work on a lot is the process of building neural pathways, patterning, and understanding our neurobiology as it informs what we do and how we feel. Okay, so here's what I know. There's different kind of frameworks for this language. So hey Adrian, yay! Thank you so much. Life is filled with uncertainty. It certainly is. Thank you so much for coming in and chiming in. I appreciate you, and it's good to see you here again. There's Adrian is another example of somebody who lived with uncertainty for a long time, and I know we still do, but she had a lot of courage and walked through that process as well of major life change and did so with a ton of grace. So she's a great example of what I'm talking about. All right, so the neuroscience first. Essentially, and this is a very broad stroke, okay? So just know that, but so that we can have some vocabulary around this. Essentially, what happens when we are uncertain is that our system starts scanning for threat. So if we're feeling unsteady, uncertain, I have a friend and colleague who says, your brain is kind of a beep hole. And then what she means by that is It's always looking for ways to keep you small, keep you safe. Now, that's not inherently a bad thing, right? From an evolutionary standpoint, like we want to stay alive. And so if our system is we're constantly scanning for threat, if we acknowledge subconsciously somewhere that there is a threat or a potential for threat, our system goes into, or potentially can go into, what's called dysregulation. There are different other frameworks that refer to this in different ways. Sometimes it's called above the line and below the line. If you're below the line, you're dysregulated. You're feeling like you're out of sorts, right? All the way to like extreme meltdown or extreme fear. Above the line is, all right, I'm feeling calm, I'm feeling present, I'm feeling self-possessed. Another way to look at it in the framework that I work in most often is called core energy coaching or energy leadership. And in our framework, we talk about catabolic and anabolic energy. So catabolic is the energy that gets us right worked up, and anabolic energy, it feels fueling, it feels calm, it feels open. Okay, so those are different frameworks for this. But essentially what it is I feel under threat, I feel freaked out, I feel scared, I feel nervous, or I feel calm, at ease, open, ready for what's next. Okay. I have a client, maybe it might have been you, Adrienne, actually. Would you, the one that says Nerf Sighted, was that with you? I love that, because essentially when we are nervous, like I used to, I was in the theater for the first 25 years of my life. Stage fright, right? That is a version of this. It is a version of feeling uncertain. And then our system goes into threat response. Now, this makes sense if we are actually being chased by a lion or a bear, right? Yes, Nerf Sighted, that was you. Awesome, Adrienne. Thank you. I use that all the time. So, and what Nerf Sighted tells us, which is such a great way of putting that, is that we care. We are invested. It's the same, essentially, the same process our body goes through when we are nervous, scared, fearful, terrified. We're excited about something, when we are fired up about something. Essentially, the same hormones are coursing through, so it gets us ramped up. It's a matter of how we perceive if there's a threat or not. So the good news is about being fearful about something in a transition like this. And again, I'm not talking about having a gun pointed at your head. I'm not talking about being chased by a bear. I'm talking about, those are actual, right, real life and death situations. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the fear of uncertainty. So that is, I'm looking at a job transition. This is why moving houses or towns even is, on the stress spectrum. Loss of a loved one is like number one, and moving is number two, because it's filled with uncertainty, right? So we get fired up. Our body goes, freaked out, right? And our brain starts thinking of all the things that could go wrong, which is called catastrophizing. So I'm going to look for all the ways it could go wrong, because then I can start to prepare for those things. And that's why the brain does that, right? I want to prepare for the threat so that I'm ready to deal with it, so I'm not caught off guard. Okay. So the first thing to do when we are feeling anxiety about uncertainty, I'm not talking about clinical anxiety here. They are connected, but I am not a psychotherapist. And so I want to make sure that if you are dealing with clinical anxiety, that's something you talk to your therapist or your doctor about, okay? We're talking about just as we go through kind of basic transitions in life that we are intentionally going through or unintentionally, but want to move through in a way that is feels more at ease and with more grace, okay? I have a friend who reached out to me last night and said, this topic is great because I'm looking at a potential career change and I've got a lot of nerves about it. So that's the kind of thing we're talking about. Or if I'm looking into, oh my gosh, I'm ready to make a life change. I'm ready to step into my greatness. I'm ready to do something amazing and meaningful in the world. I'm ready to fulfill my potential, fulfill my calling. But I'm terrified because I have these are the responsibilities, or I've never done it before. What happens if I fail? That's the kind of anxiety and uncertainty we're talking about today. All right, so the first thing, check your nervous system right here, your body. You are on the ground. Bring yourself into calm. Take some deep breaths. Regulate yourself. Bring your energy from catabolic, that breaking down kind of fired up energy, into an anabolic, open, more, and I'm hesitate to say positive because I don't want it to put a value judgment on it, but what feels good, what feels relaxed, okay? Remember, neither one of these experiences are good or bad. They just are. So we have to bring our nervous system into a place where we're open and calm. And anytime we start reeling about uncertainty and we feel ourselves getting ramped up about it, we're nerve-sighted, right? Nervous or excited or both. Bring your nervous system back to calm. So that's deep breathing. I have a colleague who reminded me of a technique called box breathing, which is inhale for 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold for 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale for 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And hold for 5. That's a great way to regulate your system. Think of it like up, right, 5. Hold for 5, down for 5. Okay. So that's the first thing we want to do, regulate our nervous system. And anytime we start to get uncertainty about whatever's coming up, that's a really on the ground, in the moment way to re-regulate and bring ourselves back into calm, homeostasis, if you will. Okay, that's number 1. Excuse me. Number 2, perspective. Sometimes when our system is under threat, we lose perspective, right? We start kicking into that I'm being chased by a bear or saber-toothed tiger, whatever it is, a gun to my head. This could be related to previous trauma also, and that's a very real thing. I'm not dismissing that at all. But it takes presence of mind to bring us back into the present moment. So if I'm scanning for threat out of habit, of a habitual scan because I have trauma that has not been resolved, or I'm just in this limbic hijack, this reptile brain that's going threat, because that's what we're supposed to do to keep ourselves alive. We have to actually get ourselves on the ground and what's happening right now. Am I really under threat? What's really happening here? And sometimes this is a matter of just talking to ourselves a little bit about, oh, right, I'm safe right now. I am whole right now. I have what I need right now in this moment. When this uncertainty is coming up, I don't know what's going to come up next, but I don't need to worry about what's going to come up next right now. Right now in this moment, I am safe. I am taken care of. I have what I need. Maybe it's a matter of a gratitude list. It sounds kind of trite nowadays, but it is a great tool to ground you in what is real today. I'm grateful for the roof over my head. I'm grateful for a loving family. I'm grateful for the food in my pantry. I'm grateful for the fact that I have doctors to take care of me. I'm grateful for, whatever it is. I'm grateful for my dog or my cat or my parrot or my iguana or whatever it is. I'm grateful that I can go take a walk and and take a nature bath. I'm grateful for that I can take a bath, right? Again, grounding in the present moment, reminding your brain that you are safe right now. So that is a perspective shift. So we talked about the physiological shift, right? And then the perspective shift. And it's really talking yourself down, writing it down. Some people like to type. Longhand has the research shows that writing it down with a pencil or a pen and paper is the most effective way to do this. 5 things I'm grateful for. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. Okay. So perspective shift. That's number 2. It also could be if you want to shift your perspective into I'm safe right now. I'm grateful for right now. And also I'm grateful for what's next. I'm grateful that I have these opportunities that I'm walking through. I'm grateful that I can make a choice that feels life-changing. I'm grateful that I'm in a position to be able to do that. I'm grateful that I have support. I'm grateful that I have my wits about me. I'm grateful that I have the education I have, or I have the opportunity for the education that I have, or that I'm resourceful and I can find the money or the time or the space in my life. Even if I don't have money right now, but what can I do to be resourceful, to commit that? Where attention goes, energy flows. So that's about being resourceful. If I want something to happen, I can find a way to make that happen with enough thought and care and attention. So I'm grateful for that. Yeah. Let's solve the problem at hand, not catastrophize about all the problems that could be. Getting really focused on the problem at hand, and our attention will help. Our energy will flow where that attention goes. Okay. So that's number 2, perspective. Number 3, visualization. And this is where our emotional guidance system and our imaginations can come really handy. Visualization, what I want to happen next. Now, here is the key about this. This is not about being attached to an outcome. And it can be a little bit tricky to understand the difference here. The outcome is not really what we're looking for. What we're really looking for is the feelings that we will have when we have the outcome that we think we're looking for, if that makes sense. So with my clients right now, I'm speaking with this one client who has identified that he is in a moment where he wants to really live fully into his leadership vision and his stewardship of what he's meant to do in this life. That's a value he has. He's recognized that in his current position, that is not being expressed fully. And so when we did a visualization, he allowed his imagination to really feel into what that full expression might actually be. So it could be a number of experiences. It could be that he is building something physical. It could be that he's building something, a virtual space. It could be that he's building a program where he's interacting with people. It could be that he's writing a book. It could be that he's teaching more. All of those things are possible. It could be that he's embarking on a totally new, business endeavor. It could be that he's working for other people. It could be a combination of those things, right? But those experiences are not about the actual thing. The actual thing is what is the container for the experience of joy, of fulfillment, of peace, of space. That's what of stewardship. That's what he's after. And so it could be any number of things any number of experiences that allows for those emotional applications of stewardship, fulfillment, love, peace. That's what he's looking for. So when we are doing a visualization, we can ask ourselves, ask our imagination, ask our higher self, our higher power, if that's something that connects with you. What are those experiences that are going to allow me to feel that peace, that love, that sense of purpose, that connectedness, whatever it is that we're after? What are the experiences that are going to unfold in front of me? And perhaps we have fixated on a certain outcome where we think, if I have that outcome, then I will have that emotional fulfillment, right? Or maybe that soul fulfillment. I come from a perspective that if it doesn't happen, it was not meant for me. And if it does happen, I'm meant to learn from it. That's it. There's no failure. There's no missing out. There's none of that. It's a matter of if I experience something, it's meant for me and I'm meant to learn from it. And if it doesn't happen, I'm meant to learn from that and it wasn't meant for me. So rather than focusing on that outcome, what are the experiences you want to have? For my friend out there who reached out to me last night and said, I'm potentially going to have this transition into a new position and I'm nervous and excited about it. Great. You care. You're invested. That's fantastic. What is the emotional experiential outcome you want? Is it that I want to grow in my career? Is it that I want to reach more people and support more people? Is it that I want to have a fuller expression of my stewardship, of my gifts and my genius and my talents? If we let go of that outcome, of the specifics, and really live into the opportunities to express that purpose, then the specifics don't really matter. But from that place, we can seek new experiences to express that soul gift. Does that make sense to everybody? So chime in the comments right now. Tell me if I'm making any sense to you. I've been talking for about 20 minutes already. So those of you who are watching right now, tell me, does this make sense to you? Does this resonate with you? What questions do you have? If this is new material for you, sometimes people go, oh my gosh, this is all this new age and mumbo jumbo. It is not. There's tons of research to support this. And if you actually look back in your life and you go, oh, right, I made this happen, or I had this experience because I really went after it, right? Maybe you went through a degree program. Maybe you found a relationship. Maybe whatever it is, you have intention, whether it's subconscious or conscious, your intention is driving you. So where do you want that intention to take you next? And how can you get excited about that? And nervous too, right? Nervous is part of it. But if you're nerve sighted and you're excited about it and your system is riled up, take a moment to bring yourself into calm and ask yourself, your higher power, your higher self, your soul, your spirit, where do I really want to be? And how can I do this in a way that feels true to who I am? I'm looking up over the clock here just to make sure I'm not missing any cues around time or around comments. So I would love to know your thoughts about uncertainty. Who feels uncertain right now? Raise your hand. Put it out in the comments there. What are you feeling uncertain about? See if we can help you through this a little bit. I might even be able to bring you up if you wanted to. I would love to do a little hot seat if you're open to that. Or also, if you want to reach out to me and talk about it, we can do that too on a one-on-one. Adrian says, I'm going to bring her comment up. She says, makes sense for sure. I love what you said about no failure and experiences either meant for you or not. Sometimes hard to remember, but so helpful to think that way to keep calm. Absolutely. And it is really hard to remember because we take things personally. We take other people's choices personally. We take other people's influence in our life personally. And it doesn't mean it doesn't personally affect us, but really what other people do have nothing to do with us, right? It has to do with what they think is right in the moment or what's driving them, whether they're conscious of it or not. So our choice is to stand in our own energy and make a decision as to whether what we're going to do with that next, right? So that's tough because we have to shift ourselves in a position of thinking of it from being at the effect, both actually, but at the effect, right? Our life is at the effect of somebody else, or are we in charge of what we do? We are always in charge of what we do, how we feel, how we behave. We're not always in charge of what other people do around us, right? We're not always in charge of the environment, the circumstances, the influencers, but we always are in charge of how we show up, how we respond, how we thoughtfully work through the uncertainty, the challenge, the difficult energy. We are always, always, always 100% in charge of that. So thank you so much for joining me today. If there's nothing else that you all want to chime in about, thank you, Adrian, for your engagement. I really appreciate that. I always appreciate you. I hope that you're doing well. And I'm so excited that you're about your journey. And so thank you. I'd love for you to share that sometime too. Maybe should have you on the program. Yes, that's it. That's all I have for today. But I want to recap real quick. We talked about uncertainty today, the stress and anxiety of uncertainty and walking through that with grace. So just really quickly to recap. When you're feeling that neural or the nervous system kick up, right? The hormones coursing through, the energy of fear or anxiety. First thing, calm the system. We talked about box breathing. We talked about physical calming. Take a walk, do something that really calms you down physically. And then we talked about and bring yourself back down to a place where you can sort of in your nervous system, you are regulated versus dysregulated. You are anabolic in the anabolic energy versus catabolic, or you are above the line versus below the line, right? Different ways of expressing that, whatever syncs up for you. The next thing to do is create some perspective, ground yourself in what's happening now, write that gratitude list, understand where you are, and that you have what you need right now. And then the next step, number 3, is visualization of what you want based on your soul, your purpose, your fulfillment, your emotional experience, not the specific outcome, attachment to the event, but what is the experience you want to have. I want to feel fulfilled. I want to feel purposeful. I want to feel peaceful. I want to feel loved. I want to feel connected, whatever that is. Bring that energy to what's next, and then let the rest unfold how it will. So not easy, but those are 3 steps you can go through to help yourself build those muscles so that you get better at it, because it is a habit and a practice that you build over time. I hope that was helpful today. Much love to you all. Have a great Friday. Next week, we will be here with Amy Tung, who is an amazing business leader. She does this incredibly beautiful work with food, creating events for people that just are really connected to their soul and to hers. And I think that you're going to really enjoy her. She's a beautiful, beautiful soul. More on that to come early next week. As you know, you'll catch the posts, but join us next Friday for that. And for those of you, again, who wanted to catch Tim today, and we're sorry to miss him, you will catch him in 2 weeks. He'll be back on the 6th. So thank you. Much love to you all. Have a beautiful weekend, and I will see you soon. Also, if you want more information about Master of One Coaching, please visit us on the web, masterofonecoaching.com, and join our newsletter, and you'll get regular updates, blog posts, tips, not ticks. Ticks are bad. Tips and tricks about leadership, how you can live into your full leadership potential and energy, and also learn more about our guests that we have every Friday on Friday Leadership Live. All right. Talk to you soon, y'all. Have a good one.